Hi and welcome back to my channel, Nerd It This Way. I'm Helia and today is going to be a two-in-one kind of thing. If you hear anything, it's my dog trying to get in my office. Yeah, ignore that. So August was a very crazy month for me. Although I read quite a few books, I still didn't get to finish my try to read list, which like in the middle of the month, some things kind of happened and it just put me in a reading slump and I wasn't really into the books I was reading at the time. So that happened. And so I will start this with my August wrap up and then I will go into my September TBR goals because everyone should have goals. So the books that I had in August were The Saga of Timing the Evil by Carlos Zen. I did get to finish this. This was like one of the first books I read, and this was a 5 out of 5. It was a fast read, you guys. Like, the names were a little bit tricky for me, but that was because names were tricky for me. But this was good. This was really good. Like, it went from different perspectives. It went from Tiny's perspective to like an officer who like met her, like the different officers' perspective of her, and I can't even begin to describe how good this book was. Like, I don't want to spoil it, but I'm definitely gonna read number 2. Don't know when, but I will be reading it. So yeah, the next book I read, I'm a little list here because I read quite a few books, but the books I was supposed to read kind of didn't all the way happen. So I listened to The Poppy Wars by R.F. Kuang. R.F. Kuang, The Poppy Wars. I actually listened to this and I'm really glad I did because if I read it, it would have took me a lot longer because of the time jumps. And although this was really good, I gave it a 5 out of 5. I felt like in some parts it was rushed, that it could have like, kind of made some of the parts of like her training in the beginning kind of like longer. But all in all, it was still a good book. The next book in my August TBR goals was The Agatha Witch by Dr. Okorafor. I hope I said the name right because I've been practicing the names. But I actually DNF'd it. Like, I could not finish it. But there were multiple reasons why. Like, after a certain point, it was kind of like not as interesting to me, I guess, as if it was like a Harry Potter book. Like, but I read Harry Potter like way back in the day when I was in like middle school. So this is a good middle grade book, but I'm not sure how I feel about it. But also when I was reading this, I had a lot going on at the time. It was a mentally and emotionally hard month. So I will leave it at that. But I do want to finish it because, I'm not that far off. And it's not a bad book. It's an intro book. So, it's a lot of explaining, a lot of rules, a lot of this. And then the character is precious, but she's annoying, but she's supposed to be because she's a kid, So I think that's one of the things that I have to kind of get over, Yeah. And the last book I DNS'd, I did not start because by the time I got to the book, it was September, and I was like, oh, I hit the reading slump for about a week, and I was like, I have to do my homework. I have to focus on like at least this, although all this other stuff is going on. And so I put this down, which I was really looking forward to, you know, the Blood and Iron Part 1, The Book of the Dark Earth by John Sprunk. I was really excited to read this, but it didn't happen. And so I'm actually going to put this in my September goals because I really do want to like read this book. So yeah, that happened. But I did read other books this month because they were easy to, you know, in a waiting room and stuff like that. So that helped a lot. One of the library books, because, you know, I gotta take my library books back, I read, and it is Hopeless Maine Personal Demons by Tom and Nimue Brown. The Browns. Sorry, I'm not gonna butcher that too bad. But this is a graphic novel, and it is dark. This is a very, very dark demons and magic and conjuring book. I give this a 4 out of 5. I am looking forward to seeing, you know, if this turns out to be a series or, you know, whatever the case may be. But this was a... Let me not give it a 4 out of 5, actually, because now that I think about it, it had some holes in it that they didn't really explain very well. So I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. I know you're like, oh, you can't, you know, renege on your ratings, but I can. Because, to be honest, this was a really good book, but some things weren't explained properly. Like, it was almost like you had to just assume that you knew what you were talking about, like that they knew what was going on. You had to assume a lot in this book, and that kind of sucked. But then it was like exciting because you're like, oh, I think I know, and something totally different happens. So that was that. I'm gonna give this a 3 out of 5. The other books I read were more in my Kindle, you know, like the Kindle Unlimited. So I read the Golden Line, Omegaverse by Addison Kane, which her writing, I read another few books from her and I was trying to get into it. Her writing is really different, like very, very different. Anything that could happen has happened. It's about this girl named, wow, what was her name? It started with an M. It's like Margaret or Magnolia or something like that. Anyways, the main character is an Omega, and all the Omegas are taken from the town at a certain age, and her mother hides her for like a few years, and then they find out and they brand her mother and they take her. There is a lot of triggers within the beginning. She's treated really, really poorly. Very poorly in the beginning, so I will say that. But then it turns left and it turns into like a very, very good kind of romance. Like they call her like the damaged Omega because she's so fearful of everything because of the abuse that the people who took her from her mother like have done to her. And so now that she's in a safe place, she's traumatized by everything and anything that they do because there's a cultural difference by the people who saved her from the people who took her. And so I give that a 4 out of 5 because the ending, the whole second half of the book was great. Like It was great. But the first half, you really, really need to be careful if you do have triggers for this book. So, yes. The next book, I actually read both first and second book on this Kindle. And it's the Celestine series by Sibelius. I will have pictures of what the series looks like. Even the Golden Line series, I will have that when I was talking about it back there. So this series is about a boxer named Terry who is fighting in this ring to pay off a debt that their father owed, and the father sold the sister for his debt, to pay off his debt. And so Terry, being the eldest, the older brother, he goes and tries to pay that debt. And on his last fight, like, he gets beat up pretty badly, but he wins the fight, and the sister's like, I don't want to go. Like, I didn't ask you to come here. I didn't ask you to try and pay this debt. I'm fine where I am. And he's kind of like, I've been fighting for like 3 months straight for you. Why didn't you tell me this in the beginning? Or, you know, what, like, how many, you know, how long have you known this, and everything like that. So there's that. And so, you know, there's like a fight between the siblings, and then the drug dealer, gangster guy, you know, tells Terry to get over himself, and, you know, his sister will be fine, and as long as she behaves and all this other stuff. And so they kill Terry. So they shoot him in the head. And then he wakes up in this other world. And in this other world is like Greek mythology influenced. That's all I'm going to say. Okay, I'm not going to only say that. But there are minotaurs, there are mermaids, there are just tons and tons of different types of creatures. And so Terry is considered a Templar, which gives power as he has intimacy relations with various women. So now he's hunted by women to give them power through their intimate relations. And the story kind of progresses on like why, you know, he has to do that. And then you meet the bad guy, and the bad guy is also a guy who was kidnapped from his home and things like that. It was really good. 5 out of 5, like, hands down. 5 out of 5. And the last book I read before I tried to read Blood and Iron is Wild Waste, which is like kind of a fantasy dystopian kind of thing. So there's this ranger who is transporting people to and from places for money, and things kind of happen, and he messes up on his job, and he saves an orc, and the orc saves him back, and then, you know, he starts like falling in love with her, and then he meets it. These two books I'm talking about, these two series I'm talking about, I have like the pictures right here. They are harem-based books. So if you're like, oh no, I don't want to read that. Like, I believe in a monogamous relationship in my fantasy books. Okay, to each his own. I'm a fangirl of fantasy, so I know, you know, things come with that. The whole harem thing is a possibility. So I'm over it. It was great. Like, the girls are awesome. All of them. They're awesome. And that's all I have to say about that. So yes, I recommend The Wild Waste too. It is a trilogy from what I know. I've only read the first book, but I'm thinking I might read the second one in September, but I don't know, because the way my life is set up, I'm not really meeting my goals. And so I'm gonna try and meet my goals and then add to them. Yeah. So we're going to now, because this video is gonna be long anyway, my bad, going to go to the Sep Tbr Goal TBR. Yeah, And so the first thing I'm gonna try and do is knock out these library books I got, because I'm ready to take them back before I forget and keep them, and then it's gonna be all bad news. So the first book that I will be reading from my library haul is The Strange Case of the Alchemist Daughters by Theodora Goss. For some reason, I keep saying, like, I'm gonna read this, I'm gonna read this, I'm gonna read this, and I haven't. But I'm really, really interested in it. Like, yeah, it's been on BookTube, like, floating around, and so that makes me want to read it more. But, you know, it's very much the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, but with their kids. Interesting. I'm hooked. So yeah, next book. The next library haul that I really need to kind of like whip out is The Daughter of the Pirate King by Trisha Levenseller. And it's the daughter of a pirate king. The reason why I'm reading this is because I love One Piece so much, and it's about pirates. And this is about pirates, and so I was like, how do I not read this? That's it. Those are my reasons. The next book on my library haul is Sweet Venom by Tara Lynn Childs. And this is a Medusa-inspired retelling, I believe. I hope this is good, because doesn't seem like it'll be a long read, but I don't know. Also, my finals are coming up, so yeah. I'm really hoping that after finals next week, I will just sit back and read and lose myself in reading, and then go back to school the next week, because that's the way life is. Okay, I have a few Kindle books that I am pretty excited to read. I'm gonna grab my huge iPad. The two Kindle books I will be reading are The 100th Queen by Emily R. King. I'm trying to like get a... So Emily R. King, and this is what the cover looks like. I will have like a better picture right here. I don't know why. Yeah, life is hard. And this is about an orphan girl blossoms into a warrior, summoning courage and confidence in her fearless quest to upend tradition, overthrow an empire, and reclaim her life as her own. As an orphan ward of the sisterhood in the ancient Terechad Empire, 18-year-old Kalinda is destined for nothing more than a life of seclusion and prayer. Plagued by fevers, she's an unlikely candidate for a servant's position, let alone a courtesan or wife. Her sole dream is to continue living in peace in the sisterhood's mountain temple. But a visit from a tyrant, Rajan Tarek, disrupts Kalinda's life within hours. She's ripped from the comforts of her home, set on a desert trek in order to fight for her place among the Raja's 99 wives and numerous courtesans. Her only solace comes in the company of her guard, the stoic but kind Captain Devon Naik. Faced with danger of a tournament to the death and her growing affection for Devon, Kalinda has only one hope for escape, and it lies in an arcane forbidden power buried within her. Speechless. Like, I'm so excited for this. So this has been, I've kind of started reading it like last month or the month before, and then I stopped. And then I like was looking on my Kindle, and I was like, oh, all the books I haven't read. I have so many I need to read. And this was one of them. And so I was like, definitely need to get I need to get on this. I need to read this. And the second Kindle book is Whirlwind Changing Masks by Nicholas Metalsky. Metelsky. I don't know. My bad. And I will have a picture up, and this is about what would a badass and successful fighter think about being transferred into a body of a helpless, powerless child in urban Tokyo of another world. His entire family is left behind in another universe, and he is now alone with only his bare hands to protect him. Okay, here's some more. Tokyo is the epicenter of clan wars, a dangerous place where you have to watch your step, your back, and what you say. No one can protect a child who was left by its parents long ago. No way is this going to demoralize the experienced fighter turned a helpless child, who now goes by the name Shinji. I know how to say that. Anyways, he has his mind, strong beliefs, and will to fight. That hasn't changed at all. With those traits, however, comes more challenges. Shinji will fight for his deserved place in this strange new world and will show everyone what he's made of. Wow, this is a really long description of this book. Okay. 340 pages, give or take, so that's not bad. But I am curious about how this book is gonna go down. It's like Hunger Games kind of thing. That's pretty exciting. And that concludes, let me make sure on my list. Oh, and I will be reading Blood and Iron. I will be like reading that book this year. Damn it. So that concludes my TBR and my wrap up. This video is long. I do apologize, but I wanted to make sure that I at least did a video this week with my upcoming finals. And yes, if you are new to the channel, what's up, nerds? How are you? If you are a subscriber, how you doing? Hey. Hi. Like, comment, share, subscribe. I post videos on Thursdays or Friday. So in between those 2 days, weekly. And I do this weekly. Click the bell to get notifications because you'll know when I post the video. You'll be one of the first people to know. It's exciting. So, like I said, if you've read these books, any of them, or if you're curious to read with me, like buddy read them with me, by all means, let's do this. If you've already read some of these books, which I'm sure some people have read, like The Strange Case and The Daughter of the Pirate King, I'm very sure people have already read that. But don't spoil it for me. Don't do that because that's mean and nobody likes a book snitch. No one likes that. It's not cool. So yeah. Oh, and the shirt of the video, not of like the week because, you know, I change my clothes every day, you know, is Powerline. And if you follow me on Instagram, then you know that I've been jamming to Powerline all morning. And if you don't know who Powerline is, then you don't know what Goof Troop is, and your life is sad. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But if you know who Powerline is, and you know the voice of Powerline, then you know that the voice is by Tevin Campbell. And if you didn't know, now you know. And so this is like a concert t-shirt kind of thing. It has Stand Out, I think. Yep, and it's the tour. And then on the back, it has the places that the tour is set to go. And I love it, and it's so great. So yes, I will also be putting like the t-shirts that I wear in the video, so you don't have to like read it in the descriptions. Yeah, so closet nerds, converted nerds, secret nerds, out there nerds. Let's stay united. See ya.